Welcome back to the Business Enhancement Series presented by Efficiency United and Semco Energy Gas Company. Next up, making appointments. What makes for a good appointment? Well, we start with the 4 A's: alignment, agreement, aim, and agenda. Alignment. Should you be having this meeting, or is it a complete waste of everyone's time? I think we've all been in meetings that are a complete waste of everyone's time. Agreement. You can't be the only one making the decision. Both parties must think it has value for them. Aim. Both parties need to agree on a specific goal. If one person thinks the purpose is establishing a strategic partnership and the other one thinks it's a sales meeting, it's unlikely either will end up being happy. And agenda. What form does it take? Set the expectations up front. For the purpose of illustrating the different traits, let's look at setting up a sales meeting. So alignment. Should you make the appointment? Is it a good fit? Many prospecting plans will tell you to pretty much do whatever you need to secure the appointment. Overcome objections, force them into a pain funnel, get them to agree to a specific time and date at all costs. Most people are so desperate for a sale, they'll take anyone who wants a meeting. Maybe that works for some, but wouldn't it be better to ask first, should I even make this appointment? Is it a good fit? We've all taken sales calls that ended up either being a waste of time because it didn't turn into a sale, or worse, it turned into a bad sale. Maybe we should have taken a few minutes ahead of time to see if we could have avoided that. So value your time and theirs. Have you ever been working on a building and have had the customer want to make a significant change in the middle of construction? Does that waste a lot of time and money? When you're building a house, the earlier in the process you can make changes, the less expensive those changes will be. You'd much rather decide to add a closet before you start having the architect draw blueprints than wait until the builders are on site and putting up the walls. The same concept applies with your sales and prospecting process. You'd much rather waste 10 minutes on the phone call and decide not to continue than you would spending hours in a sales meeting or days preparing a proposal or weeks working on a project. You don't want to waste the prospect's time, and you really don't want to waste your own time. If it isn't a good fit, then why even bother making the appointment? So what should you be looking for? Know your trigger phrases that would indicate that they could be a good fit for you. We've been meaning to take care of this for a while. We finally got the budget. That's a good one. They know they have pain and they have money. We had a bad situation going with a large national company last year. That's assuming you're a small local company. The facility is a 40,000 square foot commercial building. Maybe this is the type of work you do or are trying to get into. This also might disqualify you if you don't. Remember, you aren't going to get all the information you need in one call. You just need to be aware of the signs that they might be a good fit. You may still find reasons to disqualify them in a sales meeting later. What could disqualify them right away? In some ways, listening for the disqualifiers is even more important than listening for qualifiers. You'll almost never be able to qualify them 100%. You really need to sit down with them for a longer discussion for that. Disqualification can happen with just a single sentence. We're a nonprofit, so we can't afford to pay you. Well, if your service area is Detroit, they are in Grand Rapids. If they're General Motors and you're a 2-person business. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen to a small company is to get a huge contract that they're not ready for. It wastes time and resources that small companies rarely have in excess. Just because they're not going to work out as a client for you doesn't mean they're not a good fit for someone in your network. So never burn that bridge. The next few slides deal with the importance of getting your customer to buy in to the necessity for the meeting and to talk about repercussions if you don't get that buy-in. So we're through the first A. We know that it's possibly a good fit for us. We're willing to put forth the effort to have a meeting with the eventual purpose of turning them from being a prospect into a full-paying customer. Now we need to know that they want to be in this. Why? Well, what could happen if we don't have their agreement? What if they feel they've been pushed into an appointment and they just wanted to get you off the phone? Having their buy-in provides a greater likelihood that they'll keep the appointment, a better chance that they'll be forthcoming with information you need, and it'll lessen the likelihood that they're just window shopping. Remember, you've already determined that they're at least possibly a good fit for you. They have a problem that you can fix, and they feel it's a priority. Most people would say something like, okay, so when can we set up a meeting? This tends to put the prospect on the defense because it sounds like work or something a salesperson would say. Try this instead. Would it make sense for you to invite me for a visit? This puts them in the mindset that it's something they want. They have to agree that it would make sense, and in effect, they're the ones taking action. A visit is something from a friend, not a salesperson. Now, you need to get them to commit. Twice. Yeah, I said twice. One of the more annoying things about setting appointments is having people cancel. You've set aside time on your calendar and may have done some preparation. You receive this cancellation note from them. It's rarely a phone call. So now you get to go through the chase to try to nail them down again. Part of the would it make sense technique from the last slide is to put them in the position of the host. After all, they invited you. Hosts don't usually cancel on the guests. Set a specific time and date right now. Call me next week to set something up is just an invitation to go into chase mode again. Now, ask them what the likelihood of them canceling on you. What might get in the way? What is a higher priority for them than this? If there is a chance, and even if there isn't, ask them to call you to cancel. Call you. This gives you the opportunity to reschedule immediately. This added layer of commitment tends to cut down on cancellations. In your professional career, have you ever attended a meeting where you didn't know the exact purpose for it? Maybe it was even a weekly staff meeting. What did you feel about it? Walking in, walking out. Would you have skipped it if you could? We have to make sure that we're on the same page. No one likes a meeting without a plan. It can lead to confusion. They might cancel. I'm not even sure what we're supposed to be doing, so it must not be too important. They may be unprepared. You may need information from them that they might not have at their fingertips. They might need to schedule with one of their people to be in the meeting. For residential, we see this a lot if both members of the home aren't there. So without a specific focus, conversations within the meeting can just be unfocused. Again, we want to be perfectly clear about the purpose and expected outcomes of the meeting. Any confusion on their part only works against our interests. A confused mind says no. The more clear and above board this meeting appears to be, the more likely they are to agree to meet and show up ready to work. The outcomes portion is vitally important. For example, assuming you think we're able to help you, then the next step will be to schedule a date for one of our technicians to inspect the job site with your head of plant operations. This way they can agree to the purpose. Does that sound reasonable to you? If they say no, then throw it back on them and ask how you think they should proceed. You're not done with this until you both agree specifically to what you're trying to do and what, if any, outcomes you're both expecting from the meeting. This may also uncover whether other people need to be involved in the meeting. So for example, I'm glad we're going to get together. Just so we're on the same page, here's what I understand the plan is. We're going to get together on April 11th at 1 p.m. so we can discuss the issues you've been having with energy efficiency at your plant. I'll need to ask you about several aspects of the building and its infrastructure and your expected use. You'll probably have questions about how we'll deal with some of the problems you're experiencing and the expected long-term results. Does that sound about right? Assuming after our conversation you think we can solve your problems, we'll need to schedule a time for our lead engineer to meet with your plant supervisor to inspect the facility to make sure there won't be any surprises. Will you have any problem being able to schedule that if we decide to work together? Who could say no to that? Okay, we now have the mutual buy-in and the mutual expectations agreed upon. The final step is to agree upon the details of the meeting. So the last piece of potential resistance they might have would be a vagueness about the agenda. Vagueness leads to discomfort. Discomfort leads to canceling. What's the difference in comfort level in these two examples? Let's get together Tuesday at 9 a.m. to talk about the energy efficiency programs you were curious about. Or, let's get together on Tuesday at 9 a.m. to talk about the energy efficiency program you were curious about. To cover the details, it will probably take us about an hour. All right, you've set an expectation. With the first one, you know when it starts, but you don't know when it's going to end. Giving them specifics takes away some of that discomfort. We've already talked about this, but it bears repeating. You both need to agree to the purpose of your visit. Are you talking about their current energy usage issues? Will you be discussing their budget? Will you talk about energy programs they've tried in the past? If this is a sales meeting, wouldn't you want to know their decision process? Will this go to a committee? Is the person you're talking to going to be your champion, or will you be presenting to the committee yourself? As we just mentioned, not knowing how long something is going to last can make people uncomfortable. You need to know how long your meeting is likely to last based on what you're trying to achieve. Does your sales process take 60 minutes, 90 minutes? If so, you need to be upfront about it. You don't want them to allot only 30 minutes and then have to kick you out of their office before you're even half done. It also tells you how serious they are. Suppose your sales meeting takes 60 minutes and they say they can only allot you 10. Well, what does that tell you? They're just not that interested. So here's an example. It sounds like fixing this is a priority. Would it make sense for you to invite me out so we can chat about it more? Excellent. Before we decide on a specific date, could we just make sure we're on the same page? We're talking about getting together to discuss your energy usage at your Midland plant. As I understand, you'd like to know more about our energy efficiency program and what the expected long-term results would be, not only with your utility costs, but how it might affect your operations. Is this correct? Is there anything else I'm missing? Okay, in order to help, I've got a lot of questions about your current energy usage and any expected upcoming changes on how you use the facility. We'll probably also have to cover your budget and your decision-making process. Will you be prepared with the information I'll need? Great. Assuming at the end of our conversation, we both feel like this is a good fit, the next step will be for our lead engineer to meet with your plant supervisor to verify the details in an inspection of the actual facilities. Does that work for you? Okay. Ordinarily, these conversations take about 90 minutes in order to make sure we're covering everything. When would you like to invite me in? Okay. I've got it on my calendar. Just one thing. I know this is a priority for you, but I also know we're busy these days. What might make you cancel our get-together? How likely is that to happen? If an emergency does come up, would you be willing to just call me and let me know? I found in the past that email is just unreliable when it comes to important things like this. Even if I'm not available when you call, I'll always get my voice messages. So that helps cover the sales call, but what about other types of appointments? Installations, networking, service and maintenance calls. Do the 4 A's still apply? Well, for installation, alignment, well, not overtly, but at one point you did have to schedule the project, so they are a good fit. Agreement, they definitely had to agree that this was a good idea for them. Aim, what are you installing? Agenda, when, where, the duration, all very important to the customer. They'd probably like to know if this is going to be a 2-hour or a 2-day process. The 4 A's can apply to any meeting you're having, and it helps you keep organized. In the next section, we're going to talk about the little things. All those things we can say or do in our businesses that really have big effects. As the Business Enhancement series presented by Efficiency United and Semco Energy Gas Company continues. Click the next section called The Little Things Matter.